Hi, so we're going to record part 2 of the video basically that I just posted that was dealing with this animation of this SVG path from this kind of curved state to this flat state. I'm going to do the exact same thing now, just with something called SMIL. So somebody commented on my Stack Overflow answer and said that there was another way to do this that's kind of baked into SVGs, so I took a look. And it says, although Chrome 45 did depreciate SMIL in favor of CSS animations and web animations, the Chrome developers have since suspended that depreciation. So it looks like they do work, and it looks like they could do a lot of the heavy lifting. So SMIL is Synchronized Multimedia Integration Language, and it basically allows you to animate attributes. So things like you could animate, the example here is this CX property of this circle. And so you just have to put this animate tag basically inside of the circle tag, and you just say the attribute name we want to change is CX from 0 to 500. So it goes from 0 to somewhere over here, 500. And then the duration is 5 seconds. And it's repeating infinitely, so it's just going on and on and on in a continuous loop. So when we go back to our example here, you can see that this is basically the exact same code pen that I had set up before, but just this time now with this animate tag. So here we have this animate tag inside of our path tag of interest. And what I have here is from the initial state, so this curved state, so the Q value is kind of further out here, and then to this other path with the Q in the middle being on this flat line. So just exactly the same as before. Attribute name is set to D, so that's obviously the thing we want to change of this path here. Repeat count is 1, takes half a second duration. Begins indefinite means don't begin, basically, because I'm going to trigger it with JavaScript. And fill freeze is a bit of a strange sounding thing, but it actually just means what should the final state be of the animation. And the example we saw on the website was infinite, so it just keeps looping, but I don't want that. I want it to just go once, and then when it gets to the final state, freeze and stay in that final state. That's the most similar to what we had previously. Now when we look at the JavaScript, it is much simpler, which is cool. Especially if this is supported in all browsers. Let's hope Chrome keeps it. So I just grabbed the target, grabbed the animate tag. So the animate tag is inside of our path with the ID of target. So that's why I've just done this immediate child selector of animate. And then I'm grabbing the attribute called from on that animate tag and to. And I'm also setting up a temporary variable called D, and that'll become obvious why I've done that in a second, and why I've also grabbed this to and from attribute, or this value. And the reason is because with this animate tag here set up right now, it's only going to do the animation in one direction, and obviously you want to do it in both directions, and I want to also be able to kind of stop the animation halfway and go the other direction. So I'll show exactly what I mean now. If I click here, it goes one way, click back, it goes out, so in and on focus and off focus. But if I go like this and kind of keep clicking in and out, you see that it doesn't do any kind of jumpy transitions. It'll go from its curve to going flat and before going straight. And before it gets there, if the event's triggered in the other direction, it starts at that point and then goes back to the curve. So this is important, because otherwise you would get strange behavior where you would go from this state and then you'd be halfway there, but then if the event was called in the other direction, you'd start flat and then go there, so you'd have this jumpy behavior. So what I wanted to do is basically have the end position, or the start position, sorry, the end position, and then anywhere in the middle, what's the D path at that point when we stopped this transition. So what I do here is, in the forwards function, I get that D attribute of our target, so what's the current path looking like, and I set the attribute of our animate tag, it's from position to D, and then I set it's to attribute here to our to, so our goal, what we had at the start set up. And the reason that I set it to D and not from is because if it was stationary, then it's already in the from position, which is great. So it's in its state now, so the D also equals from. But if it was on its way, if it was halfway in its transition from flat back to curved, then the D wouldn't be exactly the same as from, and we want to go from that position back to the flat, if that makes sense. And then we have this call from JavaScript, begin element, which basically means this begin will be fired, because here we have indefinite. It essentially says fire that right now. And then the backwards function is almost the same. Again, get the D, again start at the D path, but this time the to, so where we're heading to is what we had earlier as from. So it was what we had as from earlier, and that's because when we're going on the opposite direction transition, it's flat, or it's on it, or it's been somewhere on its way to flat, and we want to head back in that direction to curved. And so now our final destination needs to be what we originally had as the initial destination. And then I have the forwards and backwards buttons again. Don't need them in the actual real demonstration of what was wanted in the question. But here we just have input div, and then the input element here, so this input box. On focus, call the forward function, and on blur, call the backwards function. So it works exactly as before, just without all of the kind of set intervals and all those kind of JavaScript overhead with the arrays and all that kind of calculating that stuff myself that I did. I think it was cool to do that. It's good to know what's happening kind of under the hood, or think about it logically. But clearly this is a much simpler solution in terms of lines of code, and in terms of also flexibility, because we could change the to and the from path in the animate now, and all the code would work the same. So just one simple change, and it's very, very, flexible in that respect. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to kind of do a follow-up video here just to explain how you could also approach the same problem a different way with SMIL. Thanks for the person that also put that on my Stack Overflow answer.